Hi, my name is Nathan, and today we're going to do a comic book review of Timeless. And at the end of this review, I'm going to announce the winner of the Timeless comic book giveaway. With that being said, let's get to it. We begin this issue with the monologue. This is not the moment I met the Conqueror, but it's perhaps the moment I first began to understand him. We see a shirtless Kang flexing. The person's name doing the monologue is Anatoly Petrov. He's a writer, a lecturer on superhuman studies at Moscow State University. At that moment, he was the companion of Nathaniel Richards, aka Kang the Conqueror. The moment was 15,000 years prior to the present, the Ice Age. Kang the Conqueror has been a pharaoh, a villain, a warlord, and even on rare occasions, a hero. We go to present time where the writer Anatoly Petrov says he's crossed eternities with Kang. Throughout all history, his wristwatch tells him that all those thousands of years they crossed together in time, it has only been a week since him and Kang met. Kang the Conqueror is in the room with Dr. Petrov. Kang asks him, was it you that wrote there is no figure in human model superhuman antagonism who has a cast longer shadow than Dr. Doom? This brother took offense that Doom is written about as more superior than he is. Even though Anatoly hasn't put in manuscript yet and it hasn't been published, Kang is still upset about it. And what Kang sees is he sees in the future that the book will be published and it will be a success. Anatoly will be sent an invitation to Doomstat. Well, whatever that is, it sounds pretty prestigious and awesome. So Kang wants to offer the doctor an experience that no one else can, an experience to change his mind. Now we go back to shirtless Kang battling a mammoth. Anatoly writes that Kang sees himself as the greatest adventure that the human race can ever produce. He has learned to master every field from the best in all existence. I mean, he better being shirtless like that would defeat the purpose, right? Speaking of flex, he also has a flex that he competed in the very first Olympics in 776 BCE. I suppose that's one way to change the doctor's mind, but not Dr. Doom. Anatoly, you get what I'm saying. Nothing exists to Kang but the challenge. We see him getting a very front row seat to Kang being adored by the people as a god. Kang could have stayed in his time period to lead this tribe until they became an army and conquered the world before the Avengers even existed. But to Kang, there's no challenge in that. He loves humanity and it cherishes accomplishments. But he believes himself as the prime human beyond any morality. This guy's going to work on this mammoth. He does acknowledge that it's lonely at the top, and so Kang takes a companion to challenge himself intellectually. Anatoly notices that Kang strips himself his armor and fights the man with only a spear and a knife. Like he said, he likes a challenge. This kill will feed the tribe for weeks, but that means nothing to Kang. Come on, bro, you got to feel something. Petrov eats the kill. After it's cooked, and Kang asks him how does it taste. He hasn't tasted anything finer. Kang tells him, well, he's dying all across timelines. He's eaten all across timelines. He's eaten meals at such sophistication, subtlety, and distinction that he could not have ever imagined. But he's found out that nothing refreshes the spirit and the belly quite like primitivism. Sometimes you gotta go old school on this. In this panel, a time quake has become unstable for the two of them, and the future has become unstable. Like a string wobbling out of true time chaos, we can all call it that. Does this affect the timeline? Kang has no idea. So they transport to an observation station shielded against disturbances outside of time that he calls the Oracle base. You fancy, huh? He requests to Pantheon, I guess one of his servants, to be shown what is happening to the timeline. He tells him what we already know. Great chaos, master. This timeline plays out like a movie where Doyle kills his father, see a reforged Iron Fist with the new hand, the moon cracked in a great reckoning. Further into the future, another reckoning leaves humanity with dominion over Earth. Young Avenger generation on the rise, new gods on the throne. We just get a glimpse of what is not supposed to happen, but I also believe these glimpses are going to lead into future Marvel issues, and it's done in a creative way that pushes the story forward that doesn't feel shoehorned. So Petrov asks if all these things will happen. Turns out they are outside of time, so these things are happening at various points across the timeline, Kang explains. But some of the other invention happened as we see Thanos holding Mjolnir and harnessing his power. Didn't he come close to doing that in Avengers Endgame? Whatever this chaos is that's causing a time casualty, it appears to be an anomaly. A wild timeline gone rogue. As he analyzes the data of the rogue timeline, Immortus has severed the timeline 7 years ago. When Immortus would sever a timeline, it would cast adrift in null time. It rewrote, but it did it. So Kang concludes that there is something or someone who's keeping the timeline from eroding. The power it must take to keep a timeline from eroding is no joke, and it's gotta be done at will. Whatever it is, or whoever it is, they're trying to reattach the timeline to the main timeline. Kang calls it brilliant madness. The writer asks a question that I would be asking too. Can we just allow the people in this timeline to exist? I think Kang's ego won't allow it. He wants to destroy this pirate timeline that he calls in to order to restore the balance to our own timeline. That person doing the timeline shenanigans, Kang concludes, is Dr. Doom. Guess we'll just have to take your word for it, bro. Boom! Master, who would dare? The Deathlocks came in and Kang calls them vermin of the time stream. No doubt blaming me for all this. Well, vermin, there's a price to be paid for trespassing on what Kang is. And Anatoly continues to write, it's not the killing that Kang enjoys. We get to know a little bit about Kang's character, personality. Despite his atrocities, he's not the blood-drinking maniac that he's sometimes painted to be. That is not to say there's no bloodlust in him. How does one attain the title of Conqueror without it? But the killing is merely a consequence of his pleasure and victory. Kang exults in victory and proving himself the better man, the better being, whatever form that contest might take. The killing is secondary. So after the defeat of the Deathlocks, Pantheon tells Kang more Deathlocks are entering the time zone and they're gonna overrun the base. Kang's like, okay, but I have more important matters to attend to than wasting time with puppet soldiers. Come, Petrov, a great battle awaits us. And the writer's like, oh, compassionate, but what about the base? It's not important. I will have another base built yesterday. And it's during this hunt that he began to understand Kang the Conqueror even more. And Petrov is like, Kang, how could you just let them die? They all died for you. And Kang's like, do not worry yourself over the Pythians. Their entire culture is based upon subservience. Dying for me is the highest honor they can take. But they trusted you. You could have saved them. They were human beings, Kang. And who do you think you're traveling with? Who exactly do you think I am? I thought you were a man of vision based on your writings, Doctor. From the idolatry of doom, misguided though it may be, I expected the man with understanding that ethics and morality are constructs of the weak. I am Kang the Conqueror. The lives lost in Oracle Base are the barest fraction of the death tally upon my name. I've seen millions die in my name, and millions more will die cursed. Do you think me misunderstood Petrov? A hero merely waiting for the opportunity to bloom? The ancient Greeks had the correct idea as a hero. Those men and women who were better than those around them, demigods who strode the earth and took what they wanted, took for themselves the excellence they deserved. Why his pursuit to obsession is like that? But clearly nothing else matters to him. So the writer's like, okay, Kang, I don't like you, and I don't know if I respect you, but at the very least, I understand you. And Kang's like, very good. I'm uninterested in being liked. I'm only concerned with myself, the respect of my equals, of which they are none. Well, now you get a glimpse of how Kang really trues himself. But in this pirate timeline, we see Celestials being impaled in this oversized sword, which makes Kang and Petrov look like ants compared to it. What the heck could have caused all this? The end of the world? The reckoning? They indicate that, but we don't know. But Petrov's like, okay, if Doom is capable of doing all this, and he has the power to keep reality itself from falling apart, how can you even challenge him, bro? And Kang said, that's the very reason I took you as a companion, to show you the error in your thinking. Doom is Doom, no matter the timeline, just as I am Kang. And Kang will always be Doom's better. Now prepare yourself, Petrov, for either Kang triumphs here and the main timeline is saved, or we will all perish. And we see green and red-eyed Dr. Doom. It'd be my pleasure to kill you, Dr. Doom. And his response is like, I've been here before. Ah, a Kang. And Kang's like, what? No, the Kang. Of course, forgive me. You're here to stop me from reattaching this talent to the main line, I take it. But if you come to kill Victor, I'm afraid you're too late. He was the first one I murdered, and it turns out it's Reed Richards behind there. And this shocks the heck out of Kang. Reed Richards continues to explain, when null time crept in, when the entropy burned, at the edges of the world, we rallied together. We were the heroes. We could save everything. It was beautiful. But all that did was take a quick death and to slow down a mercy tuned into torture. So total collapse happened. And Reed Richards like, I would do anything to save the world. I replaced my eyes with the time and reality stones to force my will upon the timeline. I killed Celestials, drank their blood to take their power for myself. I destroyed anyone who raised a hand, even their voice against me and my mission. My mission to save this timeline. After all, what else could I be called? but Doom. And then they go at it with fighting and intergalactic kind of stuff. And Kang has weapons and different timelines that he's pulling out into Pym space. And this looks like to be a suicide mission. Petrov continues to write, Kang will not correct others who think of him as a god. He has even called himself a god in the past. This is what he has told me. But now at this point in his life, he has little interest in pretensions of divinity. A god has no limitations which they might exceed, while a man has many, and that is more interesting to the conqueror. A man strives, a man risks, a god does neither of those things. A god commands man, a man challenges God, and of those actions is more worthy than the other. But can this man kill this god? Can anyone? Dr. Doom was just wiping the floor with Kang, and he clearly Kang is outmatched. As smart, intelligent, as almighty high as you see yourself, Kang. Reed Richards as Doom with the reality stone and the time stone in his eyes. Man, you can't do nothing, man. And he ends all of Kang's weapons that he keeps in Pym space. So as he extends himself and puts him in the chokehold, he's like, any last words, Kang? And all Kang can do is just rub salt to the wound. Like, I always knew you were going to become a tyrant, weren't you? No wonder historians believe we're related. It's true. I mean, he comes from a descendant of the Richards family. You know what, Kang? I'm not going to kill you as a god. You're not worth it. And the ending will shock you right here, where Petrov goes from behind and shanks Dr. Doom from behind. I would think right then and there he could just rewind time and see it coming and just avoid that. And Kang is shocked. You would aid the Conqueror in combat? You understand what that means, do you not? And Petrov's like, what? I know that you'll kill me for it? Then why? Why would you do such a thing and court death? You must know I must dispense of you. And Petrov's like, dude, if Doom killed you, I would be dead anyway and my timeline will be at risk. But I believe that human greatness lies in putting others before yourself. And Kang's like, okay, well, Kang still tells him, this is still my victory. I brought you here with me as another of my weapons, Petrov. Richards, Doom, the one thing you can count on me from them is their arrogance, that all was as a plan. But you, of course, didn't know that. This is the very reason I take on traveling companions, Petrov. I like being challenged. You stood up to me knowing that I would most likely kill you. That is the kind of courage I always admired in humanity. That is the element that makes our species worthy. That is what humanity possesses that has allowed it to produce Kang. Now, there is still a few more pages to this book, and I gotta leave a little meat on the bone with this book. Not only if you wish to purchase a book or add this to your comic book collection, link in description, by the way, it's also a very good read. Timeless #1 digs deep into the mindset of Kang while also hinting at the future Marvel heroes and villains. If you want to understand what makes Kang, or are you curious about what to expect from the House of Ideas of Marvel in 2022, pick up this book. It's a story that's worth your time and money. Timeless is clearly going to be nothing short of a huge story that will affect the entirety of the Marvel universe. Anytime you're dealing with time travel and the fate of the time stream, the consequences are huge. The first issue does a great job allowing the readers to understand the magnitude of this story, because this is a very big story, very big book, but you know what, you'll breeze right through it, and this is a fun read, as you could probably tell, for me reviewing this comic book. With that being said, Timeless, what do you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, I did a random wheel spin of all the entries of new subscribers and OG subscribers. Let's see who the winner is. Peekapool, my guy, congratulations on winning a copy of Timeless, issue #1. Congratulations on your winning. Thank you guys for watching. OG subscribers and new subscribers, Peekapool, DM us on one of our social media platforms, Instagram or TikTok. DM us the best address to mail you a copy of Timeless to, and we'll go ahead and get that shipped to you right away. If you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Here at RatedComics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.